You wake up. The world is still quiet, but in a few hours it will test you. There will be delays, subtle insults, bad news, unexpected problems. Fate will roll its dice, and you don't get to choose the result. But there's one thing you do get to choose: how you're going to react to all of it. Today, you're going to learn the 10 things a true Stoic does every morning to become mentally unbreakable, even when the whole world seems to collapse. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his diary, "When you wake up in the morning, remember that you will meet ingratitude, arrogance, dishonesty, selfishness, and hate." He didn't write this out of pessimism. He wrote it out of preparation. Because a Stoic doesn't expect the world to be fair. He strengthens himself to face it as it is. If lately you've been waking up feeling lost, anxious, with that familiar weight on your chest, this video is for you. Here are the 10 Stoic morning rituals to create an unbreakable mind. A mind that doesn't shatter. A mind that remains serene. 1. Wake up with the awareness that time is running out. Memento mori. You open your eyes, and for a brief second, everything feels still. The ceiling looks the same. The air feels familiar. Your body still remembers the weight of sleep. But then comes the first thought. Sometimes anxious, sometimes automatic, often distracted. You reach for your phone, you scroll, you react. Another morning, lost before it even began. But imagine if instead of letting the world invade your mind, you started with a whisper, a reminder, a sentence that echoes from the depth of Roman philosophy. Memento mori. Remember, you must die. It sounds dark, but it's the brightest form of truth. You've been given another morning, another chance, another fragile, unrepeatable, irreplaceable piece of time. Seneca wrote, "We are dying every day. Even as we live, time flows through our fingers, never to return." And the tragedy, we live as if we had unlimited mornings. We postpone conversations. We delay dreams. We ignore the people we love, assuming there will always be another chance. But the Stoics, they woke up every day aware that life is slipping. Marcus Aurelius, ruler of the greatest empire on earth, began his dawn reflections with brutal honesty. You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think. So before you check notifications, before you complain about the alarm, put both feet on the floor, feel the cold touch of reality, and ask yourself, if this was my last sunrise, would I live today any differently? Would you spend it angry, distracted, obsessing over trivial things, scrolling endlessly through the void of digital noise? Or would you call your mother? Write that chapter. Say I love you first. Start that project you've been avoiding for months. Here's the secret the Stoics understood. When you live with the awareness of death, you don't become depressed. You become urgent, focused, brave, because suddenly, the small fears shrink, the opinions of others lose their grip, and what truly matters becomes sharp and undeniable. You wake up not to exist, but to live, to choose, to act with virtue, to forgive faster, to love deeper, to work harder on what matters, to let go of what doesn't. There's a grave somewhere, already waiting with your name. You don't know where or when, and that is your greatest source of freedom. So tomorrow, before doing anything else, before touching your phone, before letting the day sweep you into its chaos, sit on the edge of your bed and whisper, "I'm alive, but not forever. Let me honor this day as if it were my last, because one day it will be." 2. Review your circle of control. You open your eyes, and like an invisible wave, worries start to flood your mind. The project deadline, that conversation you've been avoiding, whether people will like you today, whether the train will be late, whether life will cooperate. But here's the thing the Stoics knew, and most people still ignore. Most of these things don't belong to you. Epictetus, a man born a slave, who had every reason to feel powerless, said the most liberating sentence in philosophy: "Some things are up to us, and some things are not." Pause. Let that sink in. This is not a motivational quote. This is your daily mental armor. Before leaving your bed, before engaging with the world, you must perform the most important internal task. Draw the line between what you control and what you don't. This line, invisible to the eye, but the difference between peace and constant anxiety. What's inside your control? Your thoughts, your judgments, your choices, your actions, your interpretations. What's outside? The weather, traffic, other people's opinions, the economy, illness, the past, the future. Now, here's the emotional trap most fall into. We spend 90% of our mental energy worrying, complaining, fantasizing about things that sit outside our control. It's like being on a sinking boat, and instead of patching the hole, you scream at the waves. The Stoic doesn't waste time yelling at the sea. He grabs the oars and rows. So here's your morning ritual. Before you do anything else, ask yourself, what depends on me today? And then, equally important, what doesn't? You don't control if your boss will be in a bad mood. You do control if you'll let that mood define your own. You don't control the economy. You do control how much effort you put into learning and working today. You don't control how long you'll live. You do control how fully you'll live today. The mental shift happens when you stop trying to control the outcome and start focusing on the input, your effort, your virtue, your discipline. The Stoics weren't passive. They weren't indifferent to problems. They were just strategically detached from results, because they knew freedom is doing your best and letting the universe handle the rest. So tomorrow, before checking the news, before stressing over the 99 variables you can't command, ground yourself in this: I will own what's mine and release what's not. That single decision, repeated daily, is how you build mental invincibility. 3. Practice negative visualization. Premeditatio malorum. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this day unfolding de pior manera possible. You wake up late, you spill coffee on your clothes, your boss yells at you, a friend cancels plans, a family member calls with bad news. Maybe the car breaks down, the money doesn't arrive, or worse, you receive a phone call you've always feared. Uncomfortable, of course, but the Stoics did this every single morning. They didn't do it because they enjoyed suffering. They did it because they knew the human mind breaks most when it's caught by surprise. Seneca wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than necessary." But paradoxically, he who mentally rehearses adversity suffers less when it actually comes. This is the Stoic practice of premeditatio malorum, the premeditation of evils. You wake up, and instead of expecting a perfect day, you intentionally visualize what could go wrong, not to invite negativity, but to strip misfortune of its power over you. Imagine walking into a cold shower. The initial shock is intense, but because you expected it, you endure. The same happens with life. When you anticipate that today, people might disappoint you, plans might change, obstacles will arise, you stop acting like a victim when they do. You become prepared, rooted, mentally armored. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, practiced this before addressing the Senate, before battles, before facing betrayal. When you wake up in the morning, prepare yourself for the people you'll meet: the selfish, the jealous, the rude, and yet he remained kind, disciplined, unmoved. Here's your challenge. Before you grab your phone tomorrow, before your mind runs toward fantasy, sit still for 3 minutes and imagine the meeting going badly, the person not replying, the unexpected delay, the small accident, the emotional triggers. Then ask yourself, if this happens, who will I choose to be? Because the real point isn't to expect disaster, it's to rehearse your best response, to say silently, if it happens, I will endure. If it hurts, I will learn. If I fall, I will rise. When you do this every morning, when life throws its worst at you, you'll find yourself smiling, not because you like suffering, but because you've been here before, in your mind, in your preparation, in your stoic discipline, and now reality has nothing left that can surprise you. That is true resilience. 4. Set your virtue intention for the day. Every day when you wake up, you're not just waking up as a body that respira, you're waking up as a moral agent. Someone come a responsability decide, who will I be today? And yet, most people get out of bed and let the day decide for them. They drift, they react, they survive, instead of living intentionally. But the Stoics, they began each morning with a commitment to virtue, not to pleasure, not to comfort, not to validation, to virtue. What does that mean? It means, before stepping into the world, you pause and choose, which virtue will guide me today? Marcus Aurelius, ruler of millions, faced wars, betrayals, and disease, yet still asked himself, what does my nature as a rational being require of me today? So let's break it down. If today will be full of stress, choose patience. Remind yourself, I will not let irritation dictate my tone. If you'll face fear, choose courage. Tell yourself, I will speak the truth even if my voice shakes. If you'll deal with temptation, choose temperance. Say, I will take only what I need. I will not let excess rule me. If there's a conflict brewing, choose justice and promise, I will treat others fairly, even if it costs me something. If your mind feels scattered, choose wisdom and whisper, I will pause, think, and choose the best course, not the easiest one. This is not about perfection. You will slip. You will get irritated, afraid, distracted. But by setting your virtue intention early, you create a compass, so that when the emotional storms come, you're not left drifting. Imagine the power of entering your day, knowing today, above all, I will be just. Or today, I will be brave. Or today, I will be kind. Over time, these small morning decisions shape your character, your identity, your destiny. Seneca said, no one becomes wise by chance. It's built, morning after morning, intention after intention, choice after choice. So tomorrow, before you put on your clothes, before you check your phone, before the day demands a single thing from you, ask, what kind of person will I choose to be today? And then, act like it, relentlessly, because in the end, your virtue is the only thing that's truly yours. 5. Make a conscious decision about how you'll handle pain. Pain will come, not if, but when. It could arrive as physical discomfort, a headache, a stiff back, the cold air on your skin when you leave bed. Or, it may come disguised as something emotional, a message left unanswered, a friend's indifference, the creeping doubt that whispers, you're not enough. And one day, it will come in its sharpest form, loss, illness, grief. But here's the Stoic truth. Pain is inevitable. Suffering is optional. Musonius Rufus, often called the Roman master of endurance, said, we will inevitably encounter pain, but how we meet it, that is within our control. So, before you even step out of bed, you need to make a decision, not when the pain hits, but now, when your mind is clear. Decide, will I run from discomfort today, or will I face it like a student facing his master? Because that's exactly what pain is, a teacher, one that speaks a harsh dialect, but always with wisdom to offer. The Stoics didn't ask the universe for comfort. They didn't beg for an easy life. They prayed for one thing: strength to endure whatever came. Seneca wrote, "Difficulties strengthen the mind, as labor does the body." So imagine the first cold splash of water on your face. That's not just water. That's resistance training for your soul. When you walk into a difficult conversation, feel your heart race. That's not fear. That's the sound of growth happening. Live when your body aches from yesterday's workout, when your inbox fills with overwhelming tasks, when loneliness tries to crawl into your chest at night. Remember, you're not being punished. You're being called to level up. There's an old Stoic exercise you can do each morning: voluntary hardship. Choose one small discomfort. Do it willingly. Skip sugar in your coffee. Take the stairs instead of the elevator. Sit for 5 minutes with your negative emotions, without trying to escape. Why? Because by facing small pains on your terms, you train your mind for the bigger ones that life will send, without invitation. And when those bigger pains arrive, you'll smile, not because it's pleasant, but because you've been rehearsing for this very moment. You'll say to yourself, "This hurts, but I am greater than this sensation. This situation is difficult, but it's not stronger than my will." So tomorrow morning, make your decision early. Set the tone. You won't crumble. You won't complain. You'll observe the pain, welcome the lesson, and walk through it, like the Stoics did. Because pain will come knocking, and when it does, you'll already be standing by the door, ready to say, "I've been expecting you." 6. Have a moment of silence or deep breathing. The world wakes up, already screaming. Notifications light up your phone. Emails wait. News feeds overflow. Demands, expectations, noise. Before you even stand, you're pulled into 10 conversations, most of which aren't even your own. And it's here, right at this border between sleep and chaos, that a Stoic draws a line. Silence, breath, presence. Marcus Aurelius, before leading armies, before issuing imperial decrees, sat in silence, breathing, reflecting, reconnecting with himself, before facing Rome and the weight of the world. Why? Because no leader, no philosopher, no human can rule the external world if first he hasn't ruled his own mind. The Stoics didn't have smartphones, but they had distractions: politics, war, betrayal, illness. And yet, their first morning ritual was often to simply sit, not to scroll, not to talk, not to react, but to breathe. Deep, slow, intentional breaths. Inhale, hold, exhale. Feel the air filling your lungs. Feel your heart beating, steady, loyal, alive. And in that space between breaths, you'll find something most people never touch: your own mind. In the modern world, where dopamine hits come every 5 seconds, where silence feels like punishment, the ability to sit still and do nothing but breathe is the most underrated superpower. It's in this silence that you'll hear your true thoughts, not the ones imposed by the algorithm, but the ones buried beneath layers of noise. You'll remember your goals, your principles, your values. You'll notice how fast your mind wants to jump to the next thing, and you'll smile, because now you're aware. Epictetus said, No man is free who is not master of himself. And mastery begins in moments like this. So tomorrow morning, before unlocking your phone, before replying to messages, give yourself 5 sacred minutes. Sit on the edge of your bed, or by the window, or even on the floor. Close your eyes. Inhale through your nose. Hold. Exhale slowly through your mouth. Let the thoughts come, and let them pass, like clouds drifting in the sky. No judgment, no urgency, just breath. Because if you can master this, if you can hold your mind steady, in the first minutes of the day, the storms that come later will feel like gentle winds. Silence isn't emptiness. It's the space where your real power waits. And that's where the Stoic day truly begins. 7. Remind yourself, other people's opinions don't define you before you even get out of bed. There's a silent fear already moving dentro di voi. What will they think? Will they like your post? Will they respond to your message? Will they approve your decisions, your appearance, your life? The human mind, built over thousands of years for survival, still busca aceita sao como se sua vida dependes disso. In ancient times, rejection could mean death. Isolation from the tribe was fatal. But today, you're not in a forest. You're in a digital arena, where every like, every comment, feels like validation or condemnation. And here is where Stoicism becomes your shield. Epictetus, born a slave, mocked, beaten, ignored by the powerful, wrote with clarity and courage, "If you want to be free, care less about what others think of you." Freedom, real freedom, doesn't come from having everyone like you. It comes from this simple inner sentence: I am the judge of my own life. Before stepping out into the world, before letting the noise of opinions invade your mental space, you must anchor yourself. Here's your morning ritual. Sit, breathe, and repeat. Their praise doesn't make me better, and their criticism doesn't make me worse. This isn't arrogance, it's self-respect. When someone praises you, thank them, but don't let it inflate your ego. When someone criticizes you, listen if it contains truth. Discard if it's just noise. The Stoics knew both applause and insult are just air. Think of Marcus Aurelius, an emperor with crowds cheering and senators plotting behind his back. He wrote in his journal, "Remember that fame is nothing but the breath of others." So tomorrow, when you look in the mirror, ask yourself, am I living according to virtue or to likes? If your day starts and ends trying to please everyone, you'll lose yourself, slowly, quietly, without even noticing. But if each morning you decide, today I'll act with integrity, regardless of applause or criticism, then you become untouchable. Let them judge, let them misunderstand, let them gossip. You'll keep walking, head high, heart clean, principles intact. Because at night, when the noise fades and only your conscience remains, it's your own judgment that will define your peace. And that is the ultimate Stoic freedom. 8. Choose one small act of self-discipline. Every morning, there's a quiet moment where your body wants one thing, and your mind knows it should want another. Stay in bed a little longer. Skip the workout. Eat what's easy instead of what's healthy. Open social media instead of opening a book. This is the battlefield, where self-discipline is either built or surrendered. The Stoics knew comfort is seductive, but dangerous, because each time you choose comfort over discipline, you're teaching your mind, I obey my impulses. Musonius Rufus, often called the Roman master of practical philosophy, believed that training the body through discomfort was essential for strengthening the mind. If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid, he wrote. But also, train yourself by willingly embracing discomfort. So here's the invitation. Every morning, before the world chooses for you, you choose one act of self-discipline, just one. Not to punish yourself, but to remind your mind, I'm in charge here. Examples: take a cold shower, even when your body screams for warmth. Skip that first cup of coffee, and sit with the sensation of wanting, without giving in. Do 20 push-ups. When your body says no, read 2 pages of philosophy. When your instinct is to scroll aimlessly, go for a walk, even in the rain. It's not about the size of the act. It's about the message you're sending to yourself. My will is stronger than my mood. Over time, these small victories stack up. You'll notice that when real challenges arrive, when life throws you pain, loss, uncertainty, you won't crumble like before, because by choosing discomfort in small things, you've trained for the bigger ones. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his Meditations, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I am rising to do the work of a human being, not a machine for pleasure, not a slave to comfort, but a human being, made for effort, virtue, and resilience." So tomorrow morning, before the world tempts you with ease, before the bed, the phone, the cravings win, stop and choose, what small discomfort will I embrace today, to remind myself that I am free. Because freedom, real freedom, isn't doing whatever you want. It's having the power to do what's right, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. 9. Detach from the outcome. You wake up, and almost immediately, your mind starts projecting outcomes. Today I'll close that deal. Today she will reply to my message. Today I'll finally get recognition, success, validation. But here's the Stoic truth that most people refuse to accept. You don't control outcomes. Epictetus said it with cold clarity. Do not seek for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and your life will go smoothly. You control your actions, your choices, your discipline, your attitude. But what happens next is none of your business. Imagine the ancient Stoic archer. He spends years perfecting his stance, his breathing, his aim, his release. But the moment the arrow leaves the bow, the outcome is in the hands of the wind. The target, chance, fate, and the archer knows that. What defines him is not the bullseye, it's the excellence of the shot. In your own life, you'll send emails, go to interviews, say I love you, launch projects, make plans, and sometimes you'll hit the target. Other times, you won't. But the Stoic doesn't measure success by external results. He measures it by internal integrity. Before you open your inbox tomorrow, before you check your notifications, stop. Ask yourself, am I willing to do what's right, even if no one notices? Am I willing to give my best, even if I don't get the outcome I want? If your answer is no, you're still a prisoner of external approval. If your answer is yes, you're already free. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire where betrayals were common, where wars were unpredictable, where sickness lurked in every corner. And yet, he wrote, just do what needs to be done, and let the rest go. That's the Stoic code. Act with excellence. Pour your heart into the process. Detach from the result. If you succeed, stay humble. If you fail, stay grounded. Either way, you remain unbroken. So tomorrow, as you set your goals, as you craft your plans, whisper to yourself, I am the archer, not the wind. I will aim, I will shoot, I will let go, and whatever happens after, let it happen. because my worth is not tied to the target, but to the courage of releasing the arrow. 10. Practice Stoic gratitude for being alive. The first breath of the morning, the simple act of opening your eyes, the sensation of your feet touching the cold floor. These things, you take them for granted. We all do, until, one day, we can't anymore. The Stoics never waited for tragedy to appreciate life. They practiced gratitude every single day, but their gratitude wasn't the modern superficial kind. It wasn't a checklist of blessings. It was existential, raw, brutal, honest. It started with one simple truth: I am alive, and I didn't have to be. Seneca wrote, "As is a tale, so is life. Not how long it is, but how good it is what matters." And Marcus Aurelius reminded himself each dawn, when you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love. Gratitude for a Stoic is not for luxury, not for convenience, not for material success. It's for the most fundamental gift of all time: consciousness, opportunity. Right now, thousands of people didn't wake up. Some took their last breath as you slept. Some parents will bury their children today. Some lovers will say their last goodbye. Some strangers will hear devastating news. And yet, here you are, breathing, feeling, existing. Tomorrow morning, before rushing, before complaining about traffic or bad Wi-Fi, stop, sit still, close your eyes, place a hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat, that quiet drum that has kept you alive every second without you asking, and whisper, silently or aloud, thank you for this breath, for this chance to try again, for this new morning, no matter how messy, imperfect, or uncertain it may be. And with that gratitude comes responsibility to live well, to act with virtue, to waste less time, to love harder, to complain less, to engage fully, because when you start your day aware of life's fragility, you live with more intensity and with more kindness. The Stoics knew that death is the one certainty, but until that day comes, every sunrise is a silent gift. So tomorrow, wake up, breathe deep, smile softly, and step into your day, not entitled, but grateful, deeply, urgently, stoically grateful, because you are alive. For now, the truth is harsh, but liberating. The world won't get easier. Chaos, loss, disappointments, they'll keep coming, but you can get stronger. As Seneca said, adversity reveals genius, prosperity conceals it. These 10 rituals aren't about having perfect days. They're about building a spirit that doesn't break, that doesn't get corrupted. So tomorrow, before anything else, remember you don't control fate, but you control your response to it. Life is short, time is finite, but your virtue, that can be eternal. If this video spoke to you, if this makes sense, hit subscribe. Here, we learn how to live the way the Stoics would today. You'll keep walking, head high, heart clean, principles intact, because at night, when the noise fades, and only your conscience remains, it's your own judgment that will define your peace. And that is the ultimate Stoic freedom.